I think this was back in 2024 last year. The state will eventually, now it may take some time, the state will eventually migrate to no excuse absentee balloting, meaning that one of the six conditions that we currently have for using an absentee ballot won't matter anymore. Now, currently, if I remember most of them, it is an infirmity, you're sick, you're going to be out of the country, there's a religious issue, you just won't be in town on election day, you'll be working at another polling place. There's, I believe, 6 of them. Those are all going away. So in a sense, what you're going to have is mail-in voting. Now, they're not calling it mail-in voting, but that's essentially what it is, because essentially every voter in Connecticut could, if they want to, without an excuse, order an absentee ballot. Now, what kind of protections are we going to have on that? And we heard from State Rep Matt Blumenthal the other day that there may already be a framework for this. Well, a gentleman joining us right now may have something to say about that, our buddy Republican State Senate member Rob Sampson, and he is the ranking member on the Government Administration and Elections Committee. He represents the 16th District, Cheshire, Prospect, Southington, Wolcott, and the city of Waterbury, trying to get all its water back. Rob, it's Paul again. Good afternoon. How are you?
I am well, Paul. Glad to speak with you. And I'm actually calling you from a city under siege. I'm in Waterbury at the moment.
Yeah.
And actually been dealing with a lot of constituents facing some really difficult times. No water.
Mm-hmm.
I talked to some folks that now they don't have any heat either because their boilers are affected by the lack of water. I mean, it's really becoming quite the catastrophe.
What have you, Rob, or anybody in the legislature, or anybody in general? I know they're trying to do this obviously as fast as they can. Have you heard any estimates in the last few hours or not? What are you hearing? Anything?
I'm only privy to the same thing that the rest of the public is. I'm keeping an eye on the mayor's press releases that have been coming fast and furious, several a day. And I'm just hopeful that they've got the right people on the job to get it done.
All right, Rob, let's talk about voting here. And I know Matt Blumenthal was quoted the other day, a couple of days ago, and you had a quote back to that, like saying you haven't seen anything. But apparently, Rob, are we to understand here, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is there already a framework in here for what will, I guess, be mail-in voting if everybody requests a no-excuse absentee? Any sorts of protections here, or is this going to be done hush-hush? What do you know here on this?
Paul, at the risk of complicating the question, let me just say that the Democrats created absentee voting for all in Connecticut during the pandemic, and they've never looked back.
Okay.
They, in fact, changed the statute shortly thereafter that they had acted on without it passing into law yet, that basically redefined the notion of illness, which is one of the reasons, to mean illness. Not that you're sick or I'm sick, but, just illness exists in the world.
Yeah.
You could potentially get sick. You know someone's sick.
You're afraid of getting sick. Right, Rob? Didn't
Right.
they say during all this, well, just the fear of getting sick is good enough, right?
That is correct, yes. And as a result, we already have it, although I don't think it's common knowledge among the public. And, it's one of those things, I mean, we could debate the merits of something like this as a policy, but the issue I have with the Democrats is not necessarily this particular policy, but the fact that they want to put these things forward without the other side of the equation. They are expanding access to voting all the time, which I think is a great and noble thing, and I'm all for it, except they never do the security piece with it. Other states that have expansive mail-in voting or early voting, they put protections and protocols and security in place. These Democrats, they don't do any of that in Connecticut. We have the most wide-open, unbelievably, insecure election system in the country, in my view, and they want to do nothing to address it. I offer amendment after amendment every year. A photo ID, signature verification. These are things that are common knowledge in other states, and yet they will have no part of it. And you know as well as I know that what happened in Bridgeport is just the tip of the iceberg. Once this absentee voting becomes commonplace, that means that the ground warriors that are willing to go beyond the framework of what's legal are going to be able to use it to their advantage. And it's a scary thought.
Yeah, so, Rob, I think we understand, a lot of us do, because the debate about photo ID, that's been around for years. But you mentioned two key words here that I try to impress on people all the time. Signature verification. Explain technically what that is. You and I know what it is, and I think a lot of people do. Signature verification, envelopes, what goes into what do you want to see out of that? What would make you happy? Because as you say, I've read about this, and yeah, all these other states have signature verification, but it's done in a very secure way.
Right. Well, a signature verification can actually mean a lot of things, but what it basically boils down to is a way to firmly identify the voter when accepting their ballot. Other states that use a lot of mail-in voting, what they do is they essentially have a protocol set up when you register to vote to capture your signature and make sure that it's understood by the state and the person registering that that's your signature that will be matched whenever you vote. Some other states use other things. They use QR codes. They use other types of identification for a way to be able to match the person to the vote later on. In Connecticut, they don't bother. You could put an X on your absentee ballot, and they will still count it as if it was you. It's absurd, and it's really a shame.
Rob, can you have your dog get ink on the paw, or your cat? Will they take a paw print? Well, does that work? Can you tell me? Because I might be into that.
It has in the past. I mean, look, I don't want to cast aspersions on the current Secretary of State, but during the pandemic, the Secretary of State in Connecticut, Denise Merrill, she advised the registrars and people running local elections to accept all of them, regardless. Signature missing, signature in X, doesn't really look like it. Just take them all.
Rob, it's interesting because I read that story, and I know you've been in the middle of this, God bless you, but I have to laugh, Rob, and I do that in kind of a tongue-in-cheek way. I call it the dreaded D word. And you know what that word is? Anytime there's enhanced security, Rob Sampson talked about this, we get, we don't want to disenfranchise people. I mean, come on. It's the year 2025. I mean, Rob, this idea that any extra thing that the state asks a voter to do that they have to do 5 times of if they go to their local bank or buy a car, the disenfranchised, they're already starting with that, Rob. I mean, give me a break.
Of course. Well, I got another D word, and that's disingenuous, which is what that claim is.
Yeah.
One thing I do every election cycle, Paul, is I put a bill in every time to require cities where they typically have the problem of having long lines at the polls. And for me, that's the number one thing discouraging people from voting. Yeah. To require these towns to have enough polling locations
Open another
personnel to allow people to vote. And you know what? The Democrats, another D word, they voted down another D word because they really don't care about any of that. What they want to do is create the ability for as many votes to be cast, whether they're legitimate or not. And frankly, that's how you disenfranchise people, is by having phony votes alongside genuine votes.
And Rob, finally, we're going into the ostensibly short session, the even years, the election years. So is there going to be enough time, Rob, in this session to do anything substantive on this? Or is there going to be another? Because I would assume the majority party wants this in for 2026, or is that just not practical?
Well, it's certainly practical if they have the nerve and the will to put it forward. In the last legislative cycle, we didn't pass hardly any election-related policy because the chair of the state Senate Government Administration and Elections Committee didn't want to come to the floor to debate the bills. She knew that I was going to ask very hard questions. I was going to put up the amendments on voter ID and signature verification, and they didn't want to have the conversation. And I will put them on notice that if they bring another election bill to the floor, we're going to have that conversation. So it's up to them. They can decide to try and push it forward, but they got to know they got to go through me to do it.
All right. This gentleman represents parts of Cheshire, Prospect, Southington, Wolcott, and Waterbury. Republican State Senate member Rob Sampson. Rob, I'm sure we'll be talking about this in the coming weeks. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
No doubt about it. Thank you very much, Bob.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. And he made a great point there. and I make this point too, not that I'm great or whatever, but all these people saying, well, the lines are too long. Well, geez, open another polling place or two. Well, that's not, yes, it's easy. Come on. You'd have another school, a firehouse you could use, some sort of Polish-American hall or Italian-American hall or other organization. Come on. Oh, my God, we may have to move tables in here and tabulators. Oh, the humanity.